All right, thank you, everyone. I'd just like to start by thanking everybody who made it out here. It's been really warm and everything, and also the MCs, as well as all the volunteers that are helping with the whole TEDx event, and the organizers who put a lot of effort into doing this. So, nice round of applause for them. I believe that I'm a thriving youth. It hasn't always been this way. I've struggled through anxiety, depression, and a lack of general compassion for other people from a very young age. Let's start. Let's start at the beginning. As a child, I was bullied by nearly everyone I came into contact with. I was bigger, louder, and more enthusiastic than most, which made me a big target. They sought and succeeded to change me. This leads me to one of my first points I'll be making tonight: stability. Going to school started to become something I dreaded each night instead of look forward to, as most kids did. This caused me to start acting out in class on a regular basis, landing me in the principal's office for the majority of my elementary school classes. My teachers thought I was a nuisance, my parents, ever supportive of me, were worried about my future at school, and my peers thought I was a problem child. This proved to be a highly unstable environment. Now, when it comes to stability, I find that there are two prominent areas which seem to be the most outstanding: internal and external. Internal being the emotions and relations that you feel, or the emotions that you feel and the relationships that you have, and external being the physical things that help you succeed. While each affect the other, and some seem to be caught in the middle, I do believe that you need to nurture and balance them as two completely separate entities. For instance, if one has a stable home and food on the table, but lacks a connection with their peers, they're not going to feel stable. And vice versa. If one has a sense of connection, but no essentials to nurture their body, they're not going to feel stable. Achieving the proper balance might be difficult and different for each person, but I do believe it to be the foundation to success. After much struggle throughout my time at elementary school and doing the bare minimum amount of work in middle school, I was ready for high school. Something new, a fresh start. By the time I'd reached high school, I had went from a passive little boy with few friends to a teenager with a whole network of friends. But something was still missing, something I couldn't place. Grade 9 and 10 went by in a blur. I was still doing the bare minimum amount of work in school and living carefree. My teachers were either passing me because they did not think I would have a future if they didn't, or failing me because I wasn't passing the classes. By the time grade 11 came by, it was clear that public school was not suiting me. One night, my mom was searching online for an alternative to the high school that I had been attending for the past 2 years. She stumbled across a new program by SelfDesign called EOS and asked if I was willing to meet with someone about attending the upcoming year. I agreed. The meeting went perfect. Everything the woman I'd met with, Barbara, fit in with what I had felt I'd been missing. Is my thing still on? Oh, sorry. Which entailed one-on-one work, working at my own pace, and doing multiple group projects. I left the self-design office with no doubt in my mind that EOS would be the best option for me. But it left me with a tough decision. Do I leave LVR and all my friends that I had acquired over the years, or do I stick with LVR and possibly fail? It was an obvious choice, but it was very hard to make. I decided to attend SelfDesign's new program the following September. Their philosophy helped me define what I knew it was missing, but I could not name before: connection. Without connection, I could not put any effort into what I was learning at school. It was hard at first. Their teaching style was so much different than what I was used to, so much more self-directed and open. Slowly but surely, my anxiety that I had built up over the years started to melt away. I began to realize that all it took for me to engage in class was to connect with the subjects, using my own interests to produce projects as what was SelfDesign encouraged. For example, writing letters to political figures about local issues, which is why I believe that connection is the midsection to a thriving youth. I believe that connection is heavily associated with stability, as it shares the same prominent areas, internal and external. Only this time, internal means connection with oneself, while external means connection to the world, nature, friends, family, etc. I'd like to start with internal because it was harder for me to achieve. I'm still working on it. Before last year, it had never crossed my mind that I was not being who I truly was. But before last year, I was not emotionally nor physically stable enough to realize this. As my anxiety started to slip away, I came to terms with my values as well as said yes to things I had never done before, like TEDx. The realization that I was not being true to the realization that I was not truly being who I was like a doorway to 1,000 possibilities. It made me look deeply at who I was and who I wanted to be in the future, and what little steps I could take to achieve fulfillment. This also affected my external behaviors. As I became more confident with who I was becoming, I treated others with more respect. I began helping where I could, lending a hand or volunteering, which is not something I would have done 2 years ago. This helped me build positive relationships with my community as well as my peers. Throughout the work I was doing through self-design and outside of school, I was starting to become my own person. I was no longer tailoring to other people's expectations of me. I developed my own opinions and became more comfortable with myself. The biggest indicator of a thriving youth, in my opinion, is their voice. Not their physical voice, but their personal voice. To me, a thriving youth has something they stand for, something they passionately believe in, even if they stand out for doing so. Or they're themselves through and through, again, even if they stand out for doing so. It is through being stable enough to feel connected, and connected enough to stand for something, that a youth reaches their potential. Whether that something may be connected to who they are or what school they want to, with stability, connection, and having a voice, youth can achieve anything. Just this summer, I found my voice while attending an organization's leadership camp. Since then, I've been in contact with them about joining them after university. I've been to Australia for another organization's event, which I will be helping host, and I've started to find balance in my life. My call to action is to stand up for what you believe in, regardless of ridicule or other people's negative opinions. Have a voice for yourself and others. Show interest in another's life and empathy where needed. Simple things that make a world of difference. Trust me, I've seen it. My name is Kelby Eichenauer, and I'm Thriving Youth, or the closest I've ever come. Thank you.